Hi, I'm Fazia Costi. I'm the owner of 54 Media Group. It is my honor to present to you the Focus on Success Summit 2024. We have an amazing lineup for you, and we hope that you enjoy each and every one of our presentations. Thank you for joining us.
Hello and welcome to my presentation on finding the best fit for your students. My name is Kasten, and I'm so honored to be a part of the Focus on Success Summit 2024. And just a little bit about me, I am the current head of school at Fusion Academy Gilbert in Gilbert, Arizona. We are a personalized private one-to-one school specializing in making that education as personalized as possible for our students in grades 6 through 12. We've been around for over 30 years, getting our start out in Solana Beach, San Diego area, and are excited to open Gilbert in the fall as number 83 for our brick and mortar campuses. You can also find us in virtually every state and also online through Fusion Global Academy. I'm also a mom to a 17-year-old going into his junior year in high school. And so while I have this unique combination of not only heading up a private school and helping with admissions there, but also as a mom who has navigated the challenges of finding the best fit for her son, I'm also an educator. I've been in education for over 10 years. And what I really, really love about education and the work that I currently do at Fusion is I really do get to meet with families, find out their students' strengths and weaknesses, find out exactly what parents are looking for. Often they're looking when things aren't going well, wherever they started. And what I really love is being able to help find solutions, help them find the best fit for their student in this season. And it may just be for a semester or a full year or throughout the rest of their high school career. But it's really rewarding both as an educator and school administrator to help a family find the best fit, but even more so as a parent to see your child in the best fit academically in terms of placement. So I'm excited to present this information to you, wearing a couple of different hats to show varied perspectives on the search. I'm aware that it can be a unique challenge to find the best fit for your students, so I am making no claims to solve that problem for you, completely at least, but I hope to give you some tips and tricks to help whittle down your search. So just as an introduction on where we're going here, we're going to look big picture. We're going to look at your family needs. And I would argue that these two things, what's available in front of you and what your family needs are conversations and starting points that you as the adult in the room should be having before you bring in your student or your child. Kind of those non-negotiables, right? What exists and what do we need? Non-negotiables. And then these stars are where you can bring your child into the conversation and where they should be brought into the conversation. And full disclosure, this will be much more secondary based, secondary school, so 6th through 12th grade. That's where the majority of my personal professional experience lies. But I think some of these can be adapted to elementary as well. But certainly in secondary, we want to bring in the student into the conversation. We want them to share what's working for them and what's not, as well as get the feedback from the parents and maybe others that are working with the child. And then we all want to be a part of the wish list, right? The school wish list. What if we could have our way would be the best school for this individual? And then I'm going to leave you with some homework to seek out help, guide you to where to find that help, and then also guide you in some next steps in terms of helping the child buy in to whatever the next best fit is. So let's start big. School choices are massive. There's lots of choice, luckily here in the state of Arizona and certainly throughout the country. There's just more choices than there ever has been. And that's both a gift, but also can be pretty daunting if you're a parent trying to find the best fit for your student, especially if you have more than one child. lots of choices, lots of decisions to be made. But if we're looking at it big picture, first and foremost, we need to know what is even available to us, right? So most areas will have at least these 5 options, right? Homeschool, charter, public, private, micro school, 5 big buckets that have lots of choices underneath each of those bigger titles. But generally speaking, there's those 5 that we're all pretty familiar with. But as I'm meeting with parents, what I'm finding is even more important than these types of schools is these kind of 5 non-negotiables. First and foremost, cost, right? Some families have a budget set aside for academic placement, some don't. Some have a bigger budget, smaller budget, no budget. Some schools are publicly funded, free, but come with a lot of additional fees that you need to be aware of. And so I think, again, if we're talking about adult conversations first and foremost, you as the adult need to decide, what cost am I willing to pay, if any? And that will automatically help you kind of narrow down your search. If there's 0 budget set aside for tuition, maybe private goes off the list automatically. If there's no budget for additional fees like lab fees or theater costs or sports costs or maybe vocational skills training, that also needs to be accounted for and thought through, so that we're placing students in a position where they can stay at that school long term. Unfortunately, school safety has also become one of the top priorities to families as I'm meeting with them and making my own personal decisions for my son is this area safe? Is this location safe? Has this school had incidents in the past and how have they been dealt with? What's the crisis management plan look like? Important conversations, as children are our biggest gift. We want to make sure that they're safe, especially in the place that they typically are most of their day. And then we want to look at the rules and legality, right? So for example, homeschool. Homeschool's pretty widely accepted across all 50 states. However, the rules in some states are much stricter than others. And so are the rules in their current way manageable for you and your family? Is the funding attached to the rules manageable for your family? Is your student going into junior year at a new school, and are they going to be able to continue to play sports according to the rules of that athletic association? These are conversations to kind of think through and talk through. And then supports. If your student is on an IEP, a 504, if they have a learning difference, is the schools or schools you're looking at have those additional supports to really make sure that your student is set up for success? And then I would argue that these 2 C's, cost and commute, are probably the 2 that come up most frequently as I'm talking to families. What's the cost, non-negotiable, and what's the commute? Do you offer busing? Do you offer help with transportation? How far is your location from where I work or live? What does your schedule look like? Is it consistent Monday through Friday, or do they get out early on Wednesdays and Fridays? Or what does that look like? And can I accommodate that schedule with my work schedule or other sibling schedules? So again, there's a variety of different types of schools, and then there's a short list of non-negotiables that you as the adult in the room need to be clear on, and that automatically will help us sift through a number of schools to get closer to the best fit. So underneath school choice too is a wide variety of even more specific types. So Montessori, traditional, faith-based, international or international baccalaureate, virtual or online. Some campuses have preschool through 12th grade, on the same campus, which is super convenient. College and career focus, STEAM or STEM focus, project or group-based learning. Are there certain things on this list or on the previous slide that you already know that you really want or you really don't want? What's important about this kind of sifting is looking at all the options and crossing off the ones that you already know you're not interested in and highlighting the ones that you really do want to learn more or look more into. It's just like, that test prep class that we took to prepare for SAT or ACT testing. It's looking at those multiple choice questions and crossing off the ones we know aren't right so that we can focus on the remaining ones. Same process here, just a lot more than 4 choices, right? So now that we've looked at all of our options, we need to look at what our family needs and priorities are. And again, this is still at that upper level adult conversation only. If it's really important to you, you have several children, that they're all on the same campus or in the same area every day, maybe you're like limiting your search already right now to preschool through 12th grade campuses only. Or maybe scheduling is very important. You have a very fast-paced job, your spouse does too, and you know that you need a consistent school schedule that's not going to have a bunch of random breaks or school early release days. Or maybe your student is a aspiring golfer, and that is at the top of your priority list, and you're already ready to cross out the schools that don't offer that type of sports program. Whatever your family priorities or needs are, again, now is the time as the adult in the room to cross off the ones you know you don't want to engage further with, so that when we start to bring the student involved, or when we start to involve other stakeholders or feedback givers, that we're not clouding the pool of options with ones we know we don't want or can't commit to. So now we bring the student in and we start to gather information. And as parents, we're gathering this information with one another. We're writing down what we think. And then we also want to get the student's perspective and then other stakeholders' perspectives as well. So questions that you might ask everybody involved would, how does your student learn best? Are they better when it's in a group setting? Are they better when the class is outside or when the tables are together versus individual in rows? Maybe you have had an opportunity as a parent to volunteer in your son or daughter's classroom and experience when they do well and when they don't do so well, and you have those data points. Your son and daughter also should probably have a perspective on how they feel they learn best. Similarly, what teachers and classes have worked well? Have there been years where they've had teachers where they've had a lot of success with? Dig into that. Why do you think that is? What was it about that teacher or that class that really worked for them or didn't work for them? All of these pieces of information as we gather them are going to be really useful, especially when we're talking to school administrators like myself. I want to know all these details. I want to know the strengths, the wins, the losses. That helps me make sure that we're a good fit both ways. And again, just helps you whittle down that list of best fit schools. Also, what type of assessment data do you have on your student? Beyond just progress reports or report cards, what about teacher-parent conference data? What about writing samples? What about state testing or IEPs, 504s, psychological examinations that have been done privately or publicly through the school? What assessment data can you bring and look over to, again, help shake out what is a best fit for my student? Oftentimes in those assessments, you're going to get recommendations for home life, but also academic life. And oftentimes they're really straightforward in terms of what that best fit looks like for your student. And then student interest. This one's the fun one, right? This is the one that may adapt over the years with your child. So things I like to think about is, how do they spend their free time? What are they curious about? What opportunities have I exposed my child to? What opportunities might I still want to in order to make sure that what they're interested in is truly what they're interested in and not just limited to what I've exposed them to so far? Getting involved and talking with your student about what sparkles for them is really helpful in terms of what school choice you make next. So once you've had that opportunity to gather all the information from yourself as the parent, from your child, maybe from some family or friends or former or current teachers, you can kind of begin to create a wish list of sorts. And wish lists, we don't get everything we put on a wish list, unfortunately, right? But we do get quite a bit. And it does guide our questions when we go in and do tours, or it guides our Google searches as we're searching for schools. It's really helpful to have a clear wish list of what do we want. So some things to think about. First and foremost, we are talking about school, so we should probably have a good idea of what we want the academic program to look like. Do we want an essential or modified special education curriculum for our student? Is that what they need at this time? Do we want a college prep program that keeps those doors of college or trade school or career open all at once? Do we want an honors, rigorous AP, IB program for our student? What kind of academics is important? And oftentimes what we'll find at schools is they offer all three options like we do at Fusion, and that keeps all the doors open for your student. But some are more limited and they maybe only have a special education curriculum or only have an honors program. So that's a good first place to start as you're looking at what you want, and then you're also asking questions about potential schools. This is a big one, and it's a growing concern for working families especially. But what does the scheduling look like at the schools you're looking at, and what do your scheduling needs look like? So you're asking yourself, if on my wish list, do I want a flexible or a set school calendar? Do I want my student to be able to start school when they want to and end when it's convenient? Or do I want a more traditional 8 to 3 schedule? Do I want a year-round school year, or do I want summers off? Do I want a modified year-round? Do I want 2 weeks at fall and 2 weeks at spring, or do I mind if I don't get any of those breaks? Do I want fully in person, fully virtual, or a mix of the two? We've all had our own personal experiences with academics through COVID, and some parents nowadays are like, I am not doing any virtual, that did not work. And others are like, hey, I didn't think it would, but it actually does, and that's what they want to continue with. So what does that schedule look like? Are you physically dropping them off to a location, or are you okay with a hybrid or virtual? And then course pacing. Are you looking for something accelerated that your student could potentially graduate early from or catch up faster on? Or are you looking for something that, starts at a specific date and ends the semester at a specific date? So scheduling. These are things that maybe when I was in school, we didn't have a lot of control over, we didn't have a lot of say in, and more schools nowadays are more flexible with what that scheduling looks like. So there's more options. Next is the social emotional learning, things like self-management, self-awareness, social awareness, responsible decision-making, relationship skills. Do you want these things to be taught explicitly at school, or are these things that maybe your student has already learned, mastered, or is being exposed to elsewhere? Some schools put this at the forefront, other schools not so much. And so what is your wish list in terms of social emotional learning? Is that important for you to make sure that the school prioritizes? And if so, let's put it on the wish list and make sure we're looking for it, asking questions about it as we're looking at schools. And then lastly, and this is especially true for those of us who are parents of high school students and even upper middle school, is what's the post-secondary alignment? What goals does my student have? What goals do I have for my student and we've created as a family? And is this school going to help them get closer to those post-secondary goals? If college is on the horizon, I want to know what that looks like. Do they help my student with resume building, application submission, scholarships? Or is that something that's going to be put on me as the parent? Either way, maybe we don't mind, but it's important to ask these questions. Does my student want to go straight into a career or a trade school? How does the school help that student achieve that goal? Or are we looking for more of a gap year or transition service post high school? And again, how is the school helping with that? It doesn't mean that the school has to help with this, but it is important to know what you are being responsible for as a parent for your child after high school and what the school is going to help them prepare for after high school. So you put this wish list together with the help and feedback from your child, and you may still be thinking, Jessica, I need more help. And that's fair because we've looked at it big term. We've looked at our students and our family needs specifically. So we've narrowed it down a little bit more. And now it's time to bring in some help, especially if you're still feeling stuck at this point. So here's some places I would start if you're still feeling a little stuck. First and foremost is data. I think, as I talked about earlier, the evaluations that you can get done either privately or through your public school district are often very helpful. Again, when I meet with families, it's typically because something at their current placement isn't working and they're looking for something different. And so I can have that conversation of, what are you looking for? But also maybe what does the data or the evaluation say that your student would benefit from? Because oftentimes our feelings get mixed up when our children are struggling. And so that data piece can kind of settle it down and help us look at it more objectively. The second piece that can help are advocates. Here in Arizona, we have lots of organizations, both for a cost and free at no cost to families, can help you navigate IEPs, 504s, our voucher program, our tax credit program. There's lots of knowledgeable people out there to support you as you navigate your school choice best fit challenge. And not only that, but there's also educational advocates that you can hire or reach out to, that this is their whole position, is to help find best fit placements for families. So if you're feeling like the choice is still out here, a big choice, again, these are additional resources to help you whittle down that list. And then lastly, and perhaps most easily, is just, again, pulling in that feedback. Pulling in the feedback from current contacts. Maybe that's a family friend that's had a lot of exposure to your child, or a current or past teacher that's had exposure to your child, just saying, hey, what do you guys think? What's worked for your kids? What's worked well at their current placement? What are you looking for in a school? Have you found anything? Getting that feedback from others that you trust is also super important. But something that most schools nowadays do, and something that we've had a lot of success with, if you're kind of looking for more help and more assurance that you're down the right trail, is trial days. So again, I'm at Fusion Academy, and what we do when a family is looking for a student is we have the conversation. What's worked, what hasn't worked, what strengths, weaknesses, data, all of it. And then we have them come in for trial days, where they come in as a Fusion student and try out 5 different teachers. We also assess them with measurements of academic progress, MAP testing for reading and math. And we give them the mind print assessment, which tests for executive functioning, strengths, and weaknesses. That way we get narrative input from teachers and objective feedback from the tests. We also take in any evaluations that have been done previously. So 504, IEP, psychological evaluation. So we have all these data points, and we're able to then produce a really strong, more informed recommendation for the family after we've had some time with the student. Not only that, the student has way more buy-in because they've actually got to experience what it's like to be a Fusion student before committing to something more full-time. And what we found with preteens and teens is that's really important, that they feel like they have a voice and a choice before having to go to a new school. Change is scary sometimes. So we're able to do these trial days because of our teaching philosophy, which is love, motivate, teach. First and foremost, we show our students love, we figure out what motivates them, and then we get the teaching and learning done. We're able to have maximum curriculum flexibility because of our one-to-one model, and we're able to adapt our class structure to meet the needs of our students. So for example, if a student works better when they're up and moving, we can get them up at the board. They can stand while we give a brief lecture. We can go outside if they need a break. We just have so many more tools in our tool belt when there's only one student in the classroom to adapt and pivot based on their unique needs. We're also, again, able to accommodate a wide variety of learning styles since it's just that one student in the classroom. So after the trial days, again, the student feels like they have more buy-in. The parent gets lots of feedback from the school to make sure it's a good fit. And Overall, we're able, both parties, to say what best steps forward are. So we've come a long way. We've come from high level, lots of choices in your neighborhood, your community. We've talked about your individual student and family needs. We've considered getting feedback and assistance from various supports. And we've even potentially done trial or tours. So at this point, there's no one size fits all. It really does depend on your unique location, student, and preferences. But my biggest tips for fall, and as you look forward to fall, if you feel like your student isn't quite in the best fit, these are 4 easy things that I would start doing. What I would avoid doing is immediately switching schools without giving it thought. I think that's one of the things that I see a lot in parents, is that something isn't working, and so they just move to the next school without doing the process of elimination, the process of information gathering. And while that may seem to be the easy, quick fix, oftentimes it leads to school hopping, continued school hopping, because what needs to be done is a pause and some thought before just moving. Maybe there's a solution that could be found in your current placement. Maybe there's a school you just haven't quite heard about yet that's the best fit. So I really caution you to just school hop. I instead would ask you to just consider these 4 things. So first and foremost is explore and foster student interests. What is your student currently exposing themselves to? What do they like? What sparkles for them? And what additional things could you continue to expose your child to encourage their curiosity and their interest in a wide variety of things? Because maybe they're really interested in mechanics, but they haven't had a class on that yet. Or maybe they're really interested in world language, but they're still in middle school and haven't quite been exposed to that yet. So take some time to explore your students' interests and maybe expand horizons if possible. Next is to consider tutoring and mentoring. Maybe you just need some additional feedback on your student before making a school change. So I would consider getting a private tutor or a mentor that could meet with your student, get to know them, and then share that feedback with you so that you can make a more informed decision for what the best fit school may look like. What supports do they need? What are they most successful with? What do they most struggle with? Again, that's just going to whittle down your list of questions so that when you go tour schools, experience schools, Google schools, you know what you should be looking for top of mind. And then third is to set up tours and trials. Absolutely the best piece of school choice is that it's made us all a little bit more competitive, right? In terms of setting ourselves apart, being clear about what sets us apart, and then really having to own our success and failures. And so sometimes what you see on a website and in real life does not match. Sometimes what you read in reviews and what's in real life doesn't match. And so it's really important that you as a parent set your eyes on it with a tour. And then most schools will offer trial days or a shadow day opportunity as well. And then lastly, create partnerships. Again, ask that family friend, ask that community member, ask that educator that you know of, have them assist and build partnerships with you so that you know what's available in your area and you know who to ask for feedback from. This does not have to be a lonely, isolated challenge. We can all help each other out. All right, so just to review, we took our really big, daunting task of finding the best fit for our child, and we narrowed it down, right? We started with all of the school choices. We narrowed it down even more to what our family needs and priorities were. We did that before we brought the kiddo into the conversation. Then we had some introspective work to do. We thought about our child, how they learned best. We brought our child into the conversation. We talked to them about how they believe they learn best and what they need. We also elicited feedback from various parties that know our child, so we were really clear on who they were. And then we began to create our wish list of, in a dream world, this is what we would want in a school. And that helped us with our Google searches, with our questions when we were touring, because we knew what we were looking for. That doesn't mean that you're going to find all of the wish list items at any one school, but it does help you see which schools check off the most boxes on that wish list. And your homework now, if you are in a situation like I have been in the past, or many other parents have been in the past, where you are looking for a different school, your homework now is to seek out help, additional resources. Maybe you're going to get that evaluation now, or you're going to seek out some advocates who are knowledgeable supports. Or maybe you're going to get the feedback from your neighbor or a former teacher or a community member that you trust their opinion. And then you're going to try it out. Go on the tours, have your child do a shadow day or a trial day experience. And that's going to whittle that list down to a very short list that you and your family can feel good about, really being the best fit. So thank you so much for participating and listening to me today. I'm so grateful to be a part of this Summit for Success. I hope that you have found this to be helpful. And if you would like to continue the conversation or have any questions, I, of course, have put my contact info down below. So thank you again and enjoy the rest of the summit.